Have you ever wondered why some people feel unfulfilled in their romantic relationships as they age? As we get older, the dynamics of intimacy and love shift, but too often, we hold on to outdated expectations that no longer serve us. In today's video, we'll delve into the essential truths about love and relationships in advanced age. Truths that can transform the way you approach intimacy in your later years. You'll learn why redefining your expectations is key to cultivating a deep, lasting bond, how communication can reignite emotional connection, and why physical intimacy is just as important as ever. By watching until the end, you'll also discover how societal pressures and fear of judgment can trap you in unfulfilling relationships, and how letting go of these fears can open the door to real joy and connection. Plus, we'll explore how to embrace your changing body and desires without shame or guilt. Don't miss out on this empowering discussion about how to reclaim and redefine your love life as you age, because it's never too late to rediscover passion, intimacy, and joy. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoy the content, please comment 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is crucial as it helps me create better videos that align with your interests. Now, let's get started. The first thing that must be understood in advanced age is the importance of redefining expectations within romantic and intimate relationships. As we enter the later stages of life, one of the most profound and transformative realizations we must embrace is the need to redefine our expectations when it comes to romantic and intimate relationships. So often, we carry the weight of decades past, and with it, the belief that love should mirror the intense passion and unrelenting drive of our youth. But as time moves forward, it gently reshapes the nature of our connections, urging us to shift our focus from what was to what can be. The love we experience in advanced age doesn't vanish. It undergoes a stunning metamorphosis. The fiery, consuming passion of youth may give way to a quieter, more serene flame, but this love is no less powerful. It becomes rooted in the foundation of deep companionship, unwavering respect, and a profound sense of mutual care. This is not a love that fades, it is a love that matures, and understanding this evolution is crucial. Without this awareness, we risk succumbing to frustration, clinging to an idealized version of romance that no longer serves us. Instead, we can cultivate a love that aligns with the emotional and physical needs of the present, one that nurtures the soul and strengthens the bond between two people who have journeyed together through life's many chapters. Moreover, in the later years, communication becomes the cornerstone of intimacy, standing at the very heart of our connection with our partners. In many long-term relationships, there is an insidious shift. Silence creeps in where once there were words, or the dialogue becomes repetitive and hollow. This silence, though often born of familiarity, can threaten the emotional depth we've worked so hard to build. It's easy to believe that after years of being together, the need for open communication diminishes, that words no longer matter. But this is a dangerous myth. True intimacy cannot exist without honest, heartfelt conversations, without the willingness to reveal our desires, insecurities, and changing expectations. In these later years, when the weight of life's experiences might have left us feeling vulnerable, it becomes even more vital to carve out space for dialogue that fosters understanding. A simple, yet profound gesture of curiosity, taking the time to listen to what your partner is feeling, thinking, and desiring, can reignite the spark of emotional connection. It's not about grandiose speeches or dramatic proclamations, but rather about the daily reaffirmation of love through small, meaningful acts of attention and affection. This ongoing dialogue creates a sanctuary of trust and security, a space where both partners can feel valued and seen, no matter how many years have passed. Lastly, the subject of physical intimacy deserves to be approached with a spirit of openness, warmth, and acceptance. Our bodies change as we age, and so do our needs and desires. Yet, this natural progression does not diminish the importance of touch, affection, and the simple act of being physically present with one another. If anything, these expressions of love become even more precious, more vital to the preservation of the bond we share. The first step in navigating this transformation is to release any lingering comparisons to the past. It is easy to look back on the days of youthful passion and long for what once was, but in doing so, we miss the incredible potential of the present moment. Physical intimacy in later life can be just as fulfilling, but it requires us to approach it with curiosity and empathy, ready to discover new ways to connect. In this phase of life, intimacy is not about reclaiming what we've lost, but about embracing what is possible now. It is about cultivating an environment where both partners feel cherished, respected, and connected, where love is not defined by the physical act itself, but by the emotional closeness and deep affection that it nurtures. The essence of love, in its most tender and transformative form, is ever present, waiting to be rediscovered even as the body and life circumstances change. The second truth, which may seem controversial to some, is that many people in advanced age continue to stay in relationships that are rooted in convenience rather than true love or mutual respect. It's a painful reality, but it's one that cannot be ignored. Too often, couples remain together not because they are emotionally fulfilled, but because they are afraid of facing the world alone, or out of a sense of duty to the years they've spent together. They cling to the comfort of what they know, allowing the fear of loneliness or the weight of obligation to dictate their choices. However, this path can be one of the most detrimental decisions in a relationship. Choosing convenience over authentic connection suffocates individuality, leaving both partners trapped in a cycle of complacency and unfulfilled potential. The desire for true love and mutual respect doesn't vanish with age. It simply becomes more urgent, more essential. Settling for a relationship that doesn't honor these values is a denial of one's right to experience the fullness of connection, and a refusal to accept anything less than the love and respect one deserves. Furthermore, there is another uncomfortable truth that many are reluctant to confront. The fear of judgment from others often keeps people locked in unhappy or even toxic relationships. What will the children think? What will society say? These questions, loaded with external pressures and expectations, hold an immense power over our decisions, even when it comes to matters of the heart. The desire to avoid criticism, to preserve appearances, and to conform to societal norms can keep individuals stuck in situations that drain them emotionally and spiritually. But living with the constant fear of judgment, letting others dictate your happiness, is a betrayal of yourself. Maturity, however, should be the time in life when individuals have the courage to cast off these chains. It is the phase when we have earned the right to prioritize our own joy, our own fulfillment, over the opinions and expectations of others. Yes, it may be uncomfortable. Yes, it may challenge the status quo. And yes, it might disappoint those around us. But what is the cost of living a life dictated by the judgment of others? A life where true happiness and self-expression are sacrificed for fear of disapproval. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Lastly, and perhaps most difficult to acknowledge, is the painful reality that abusive relationships do not miraculously improve with age. It's a dangerous misconception to believe that the passage of time will naturally soften the behavior of a controlling, disrespectful, or emotionally abusive partner. In fact, the truth is often far darker. As the physical and emotional strength of one partner begins to wane with age, the abusive behavior can intensify. The manipulation, the gaslighting, the cruelty, these patterns do not simply fade away with time. They can evolve, becoming more insidious and more destructive. It's vital for those in advanced age to recognize the signs of abuse, whether emotional, psychological, or financial, and to understand that years spent together are no excuse for tolerating mistreatment. Love does not require sacrificing your dignity or enduring abuse. The courage to break free from toxic patterns, even after decades of entanglement, is one of the most liberating and transformative decisions a person can make. It's never too late to choose freedom, to reclaim one's worth, and to walk away from relationships that diminish rather than uplift. The third controversial aspect of intimate relationships in old age lies in the painful neglect of desire and sexuality. So many couples, burdened by societal expectations, internalized ageism, and their own limiting beliefs, gradually abandon this deeply human need, falsely believing that intimacy and physical connection are no longer relevant or appropriate at this stage in life. The pervasive notion that desire belongs only to the young, that passion fades with the years, is not just misguided, it is profoundly damaging. This belief, often ingrained through years of societal conditioning and shame, stifles the emotional richness that can flourish in intimate relationships as we age. When couples fail to invest in their sexual lives out of fear of judgment, guilt, or complacency, the consequences are devastating. They unintentionally create a void where once there was warmth, companionship, and connection. What once was a beautiful, tender bond becomes a cold space, filled with regret and unmet emotional needs. The truth is, physical intimacy has no expiration date. In fact, as we grow older, it can be more meaningful, more fulfilling, and more connected than ever before. The absence of the superficial pressures of youth, the need to look a certain way or perform in a certain way, can actually make intimacy in later life even more freeing. Maturity brings with it emotional depth, freedom, and the profound joy of being loved and seen for who you truly are, without the distractions or insecurities that often come with younger years. In this stage of life, sex is not just about physical pleasure. It is about expressing deep love, trust, and the tender understanding that only comes with shared history. It is a sacred space where vulnerability is cherished and emotional closeness is built, not through perfection, but through the rawness and beauty of aging together. Another layer of controversy surrounds the profound changes our bodies undergo, which many people mistakenly view as insurmountable barriers to intimacy. As we age, our bodies change. Aches and pains become familiar, stamina may diminish, and physical appearance often evolves in ways that we didn't anticipate. These changes, however, should never be seen as obstacles to pleasure and intimacy. On the contrary, they should be embraced as opportunities to rediscover new, more fulfilling forms of connection. For too many individuals, the physical transformations that come with aging trigger a sense of insecurity, leading them to withdraw from intimacy altogether. They believe that their appearance or their health conditions somehow render them unworthy of intimacy, or that it is no longer possible to experience sexual satisfaction. What is seldom discussed, though, is how much intimacy can be reinvented when approached with open-mindedness, creativity, and an honest willingness to adapt. Through dialogue and a mutual understanding between partners, it is possible to transform intimate moments into something even more meaningful than before. The loss of certain physical capabilities doesn't need to be a source of shame or frustration. Instead, it can be a catalyst for exploring new ways of being close. It is in these moments of adaptation and compromise that a deeper emotional connection can be forged, where the focus shifts from purely physical performance to emotional and spiritual connection. Ignoring this possibility, or worse, resigning oneself to the belief that intimacy is only for the young, is not just a missed opportunity. It is an abandonment of one of the most powerful sources of satisfaction, connection, and joy within a relationship. To choose not to explore the potential for intimacy in later life is to forsake a fundamental pillar of a healthy, thriving partnership. Finally, there exists an insidious and deeply harmful pressure from society. The widespread, unspoken belief that older people should not desire or openly express interest in sex. This prejudice, which is woven into the fabric of ageist culture, invisibilizes the sexual and emotional needs of older individuals, painting them as irrelevant or even inappropriate. It reinforces the damaging stereotype that as we age, we lose our capacity for desire and that any expression of physical affection or love is somehow unseemly. This mentality is one of the greatest barriers to human fulfillment in older age, and it is a powerful force that perpetuates feelings of shame and isolation. Those who internalize this belief often find themselves trapped in a cycle of denial, suppressing their own desires, and distancing themselves from the possibility of intimate connections that are vital to their emotional and physical well-being. In denying themselves the right to experience love and affection, they are denying a crucial part of their humanity, the innate, deeply human need for connection and intimacy. This belief system is not only harmful but also profoundly limiting. To remain silent about our desires, to turn away from the possibility of sexual intimacy, is to live a half-life, stripped of one of the most fundamental joys of human existence. It is time to challenge these deeply ingrained beliefs and break free from the societal shackles that define aging as a time of emotional and physical withdrawal. Recognizing and claiming the right to physical intimacy in old age is not just a matter of personal fulfillment. It is an act of courage, self-respect, and liberation. It is a radical act of defiance against the ageist narratives that seek to silence the voices of the elderly, a reclaiming of one's right to joy, to love, and to pleasure, regardless of age. More than ever, the later years of life should be a time when desire is celebrated, not hidden away. This is the phase where love and passion should not only survive but thrive. In fact, it is precisely at this stage in life that intimacy can be the most powerful, as it is no longer bound by societal expectations, but rather free to exist as an expression of deep connection, profound trust, and the beauty of shared vulnerability. In celebrating and embracing intimacy in old age, we are not only affirming our right to live fully and authentically, we are reminding the world that human connection, in all its forms, is timeless. The fourth factor that can undeniably cause frustration among many elderly people is the painful and often uncomfortable realization that, in some cases, they themselves are responsible for sabotaging their own romantic and intimate relationships. This truth, when it surfaces, can sting deeply, but it's one that cannot be ignored. Insisting on rigid patterns, refusing to let go of control, and resisting the natural evolution of oneself and a relationship can all drive a wedge between partners, creating unnecessary emotional distance. It's far too common to hear elderly individuals say, "I've always been this way," or "in my time, things were different," as a defense against adapting to the ever-changing dynamics of a relationship. These types of statements often serve as an excuse, a shield to avoid the difficult, yet necessary, emotional evolution that every relationship requires. Holding on to the past, with its outdated expectations and definitions of love, prevents the growth of the relationship and can transform what should be a peaceful coexistence into a minefield of unresolved conflicts, frustrations, and unspoken resentments. When couples cling to their old ways of thinking and resist the changing needs of their relationship, they unintentionally create a stagnant environment. Over time, this environment leads to a slow erosion of connection, trust, and affection, making it increasingly difficult for the relationship to thrive. This reluctance to adapt can manifest in subtle ways. Perhaps one partner becomes entrenched in their routines and refuses to open up emotionally, or the other may remain fixed in their ideals of what love should look like, often ignoring the needs and feelings of their partner. Unfortunately, this stubbornness often leads to an emotional disconnect that is not easily repaired. When both partners are unwilling to step outside of their comfort zones or challenge their own beliefs, the relationship begins to feel suffocating. The joy that once flourished in shared experiences can be replaced with the quiet bitterness of unmet needs. Over time, both individuals may find themselves withdrawing into their own emotional silos, no longer truly present for each other, but simply coexisting in silence. And yet, this emotional withdrawal could have been avoided if both partners were willing to see the relationship as a living, breathing entity that requires care, attention, and, above all, the willingness to evolve together. The second layer of this challenge is even more insidious. Many elderly people, having lived longer lives, often fall into the trap of believing that they know everything there is to know about love. This mindset can easily morph into an arrogance disguised as wisdom, an attitude that no further listening, learning, or growth is necessary. It becomes all too easy to assume that because they've lived through more experiences, they've learned everything they need to know, and thus no further effort is required. This assumption can be deeply damaging. The reality is that love, like any part of life, is an ever-evolving journey. As we grow older, we accumulate more experiences, but that doesn't mean we have all the answers. To truly maintain a healthy and thriving relationship, humility and openness are paramount. Relationships, particularly in later years, require the ability to recognize when we're wrong, to apologize sincerely, and, most importantly, to be willing to change and adapt. It's in this humility that growth can take place. Those who are unwilling to acknowledge their own flaws, who insist on imposing their own views without room for compromise or mutual understanding, are in danger of undermining the very intimacy they wish to preserve. The refusal to accept that both partners need to learn from one another, and that no one person has all the answers, is a serious obstacle to maintaining the depth and connection that makes a relationship truly fulfilling. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Unfortunately, there is often a third and even more difficult truth to confront. Loneliness in relationships, especially in older age, is often not the fault of a partner, but rather the result of one person emotionally isolating themselves. As people age, many fall into the trap of routine. They stop making the effort to connect, to communicate, and to nurture the relationship. They get comfortable in their own space, convinced that they have already done their part, and that it's now up to the other person to carry the weight of emotional connection. This type of thinking is a clear indication of disengagement, and it's incredibly harmful. The belief that love should simply continue without active effort, without ongoing emotional investment, is a dangerous misconception. In truth, love, at any stage in life, requires effort from both partners. Relationships don't sustain themselves. They require daily care, consideration, and attention. The simple act of showing up for your partner, physically, emotionally, and mentally, is an ongoing responsibility that is shared by both individuals. When one partner assumes that the other will bear the emotional weight alone, it's a clear sign that the relationship is slowly being abandoned, even if unintentionally. Emotional neglect, often disguised as complacency, is one of the slowest killers of love. It's not about grand gestures or sweeping changes. It's the little things, the everyday moments of connection, that keep a relationship alive and vibrant. When we fail to invest in the relationship, when we stop making an effort to communicate, to understand, and to share our vulnerabilities, we are, in essence, abandoning the very thing we say we cherish. The most heartbreaking part is that this emotional isolation often goes unnoticed until the damage is done. Partners may begin to feel disconnected, lonely, and resentful, but instead of addressing the issue together, they may silently withdraw, each believing that the other is to blame. The painful truth is that loneliness in a relationship is rarely the result of one person's actions alone. It is a shared responsibility. It is the failure of both partners to recognize that love requires ongoing effort, compromise, and, above all, a willingness to grow together. If this reflection makes you uncomfortable, perhaps it's because it strikes a chord, a truth that, while difficult to face, needs to be acknowledged. If this resonates, it may be because it calls attention to something you've been avoiding, a hard truth that is begging to be recognized. And while it may be unsettling, this realization is also an opportunity. It is a chance to confront these patterns head-on, to begin a new chapter in your relationship, one where both partners are actively involved, emotionally present, and willing to put in the effort required to nurture and grow the bond. It's not too late to change, to be vulnerable, and to invest in love. After all, relationships, just like individuals, are not static. They are fluid, capable of change, and worthy of ongoing care. And by choosing to face these uncomfortable truths, we can unlock the potential for a deeper, more fulfilling connection, not just in our relationships, but within ourselves. The fifth truth that may bring discomfort is the harsh reality that many elderly people use age as an excuse to avoid intimacy altogether. Phrases like, "I don't have the energy for that anymore," or "it doesn't matter at this stage," are often spoken with a sense of finality that hides, beneath the surface, unresolved fears, insecurities, or a quiet resignation. These words are not just a reflection of physical fatigue or a simple acknowledgement of age. They often mask deeper emotional wounds, anxieties, and the reluctance to confront uncomfortable truths. By using age as a shield, many elderly individuals unintentionally create a barrier between themselves and their partners, not just physically but emotionally as well. This avoidance of intimacy, whether sexual or emotional, leads to a dangerous cycle of distancing, both physically and emotionally, that erodes the foundation of the relationship over time. What many fail to see is that, in most cases, the lack of intimacy is not a direct consequence of aging, but rather a result of a lack of effort and willingness to keep the connection alive. The truth is that the desire for closeness, both physical and emotional, does not disappear with age. It may simply need to be rekindled, reimagined, and nurtured in new ways. Rekindling intimacy requires not just effort, but creativity, openness, and a willingness to communicate about needs and desires. It may take a little more ingenuity to explore new forms of closeness or to find ways to keep the emotional and physical bond strong, but it is entirely possible. The reality is that intimacy does not have an expiration date, and its depth and richness can evolve over time, providing fulfillment and connection that transcends physical limitations. Age, while it undoubtedly brings certain limitations, also has the potential to unlock new avenues for deeper and more meaningful experiences. With the right mindset, maturity can offer a freedom that youth cannot. It is the willingness to embrace vulnerability, to explore new dimensions of affection, and to communicate openly with one's partner that can lead to a fulfilling relationship. Denying the need for intimacy, whether due to fear, insecurity, or a misguided belief that it doesn't matter anymore, is to close one's eyes to a vital part of human connection. It is to miss out on the beautiful, often transformative power that physical closeness and emotional bonding can offer. It is not age that diminishes desire. It is the decision not to nurture it. Intimacy, at any stage in life, requires conscious cultivation, not resignation. Facing this truth is undoubtedly challenging. It requires confronting vulnerabilities, letting go of past beliefs, and rethinking what intimacy means in the context of aging. But for those willing to face this uncomfortable reality, it can be profoundly liberating. It allows for the possibility of living full, vibrant relationships even in maturity. Relationships where love, affection, and physical closeness continue to thrive and evolve. It's a reminder that desire is not something that fades with age, but something that can be nourished and sustained if both partners are committed to doing the work together. To deny intimacy in the later years of life is to deny one of the most beautiful, life-affirming aspects of being human. The deep, intimate connection between two people who choose to share their journey, with all its complexities, joys, and challenges. The sixth truth, perhaps one of the most difficult to face, is that many elderly people remain trapped in toxic, draining relationships simply out of fear of starting over alone. The belief that there's no time left to change at my age, or it's too late for me to begin anew, becomes a powerful emotional prison, keeping them tied to relationships that no longer serve their well-being. This mindset, while understandable, especially in the face of loneliness, uncertainty, or a lifetime of shared history, is deeply self-sabotaging. It convinces people that their value is tied to the relationship, and that leaving would mean a life of isolation, shame, or regret. What's even more devastating is that this fear of starting over can prevent the very care and respect that one truly deserves from being realized. In many cases, these individuals stay because they're consumed with worry about what others will think. What will my family say if I leave? What will my friends think? How will I explain this? These questions can create a crushing sense of obligation that stifles one's own emotional and physical well-being. But the truth is, when we allow ourselves to be governed by fear of judgment or concern over appearance, we deny ourselves the freedom to seek happiness, peace, and emotional fulfillment. The reality is that one's own happiness is what is truly at stake. The desire for companionship and connection is valid, but staying in a relationship simply for the sake of societal expectations or convenience, whether it be for financial stability, family pressures, or out of a misguided sense of duty, can be one of the biggest mistakes a person can make, regardless of their age. The fear of being alone often becomes more frightening than the pain of enduring a toxic situation, but in truth, staying in such an environment only deepens the emotional wounds and perpetuates a cycle of unhappiness. Breaking free from a toxic cycle, while undeniably painful, is a courageous and necessary act of self-love and self-respect. It may feel like an insurmountable mountain, but in reality, the freedom and peace that comes with liberation are worth every ounce of the struggle. The emotional weight of staying in a relationship that suffocates the soul can be far more debilitating than the initial pain of stepping away. While the prospect of loneliness may seem daunting, It is far healthier to embrace solitude than to remain in a relationship that causes more harm than good. In that solitude, there is the opportunity for self-discovery, healing, and a new chapter where one's emotional needs are finally met with kindness, respect, and affection. This isn't just about leaving someone. It's about reclaiming one's right to happiness, peace, and personal growth. It's about acknowledging that no one, at any age, should have to sacrifice their emotional or mental well-being for the comfort or convenience of others. In facing the fear of being alone, one often finds the strength to embrace a new, empowering future, free from the toxic influences that once seemed impossible to escape. And while the road to freedom may not be easy, the rewards of a life lived authentically, on one's own terms, are immeasurable. Ultimately, the most important relationship to nurture is the one with oneself, and by breaking free from the shackles of a toxic relationship, one can begin to rebuild a life that is truly worthy of love, respect, and joy. The seventh truth, though often left unspoken, is one that resonates deeply with many elderly individuals. The tendency to hold on to relationships that have long ceased to serve them, driven by nostalgia or a misplaced sense of comfort. "We've been together for so long," is the refrain that many cling to, even when it's clear that the relationship is no longer fulfilling, supportive, or healthy. This sentiment often leads to a decision to stay in something simply because of the years spent together, but in reality, the relationship may have been in a state of decay for quite some time. One partner might be emotionally distant, lost in their own world, while the other feels isolated, unappreciated, and burdened by unspoken resentment. Over time, these silent wounds fester, creating a chasm between the two people who once shared deep affection and connection. Yet, the fear of letting go, of confronting the emptiness that lingers, can make it easier to stay in a relationship that no longer provides joy, love, or fulfillment. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. What's often forgotten is that holding on to something merely out of a sense of duty or a history shared, without acknowledging its present lack of nourishment, only continues to stifle personal growth and well-being. The comforting routine of familiarity can be a powerful force, but it can also be a trap, preventing individuals from exploring the possibility of new beginnings. Letting go of a relationship that has stopped nurturing your soul doesn't mean erasing the good memories or the love that once existed. It means making room for new connections, new opportunities for joy, and, most importantly, for personal growth. It creates space for a fresh chapter in life where new experiences, new relationships, and new forms of fulfillment can flourish. It can lead to the possibility of living in alignment with one's true desires, without the weight of past expectations or emotional baggage. These 7 truths, though difficult to hear, are essential for understanding how to maintain healthy, thriving relationships as we age. They speak to the heart of what it means to live authentically, to honor our own needs, and to recognize when change is necessary for growth. It's easy to feel as though it's too late to change course, that our past choices are set in stone. But the reality is that it is never too late to rewrite the story of your love life, to reclaim your own happiness, and to seek out the relationships that bring you peace, joy, and mutual respect. Recognizing the need for change is not an admission of failure. It is an empowering step toward creating deeper, more meaningful connections, both with yourself and with those you love. By embracing the courage to acknowledge these truths, we open ourselves to the possibility of living fully, vibrantly, and authentically, no matter our age. It's about rediscovering the essence of love, both within ourselves and in the relationships that surround us, and making choices that align with who we are today, not who we once were. The importance of self-love and personal boundaries. As we age, there's often a temptation to allow the needs and desires of others to take precedence over our own. This is especially true in relationships with children or extended family members. The idea that you should always put others first can create an environment where your personal needs and desires are overlooked. But this self-sacrifice is one of the most damaging things you can do to your emotional well-being, especially in your later years. In fact, the strongest relationships are those where both individuals maintain a sense of self-love, respect, and individuality. It's important to recognize that maintaining personal boundaries is not a selfish act. It's a form of self-respect. Setting limits around what you're willing to accept, how much emotional energy you're willing to give, and how much time you devote to others is crucial for preserving your mental and emotional health. The fear of being seen as selfish is often a cultural and social construct that has been ingrained in us over the years. In reality, taking care of your own needs, both physical and emotional, makes you a better partner, friend, and family member. Letting go of guilt. Guilt is another emotion that can cloud your judgment and prevent you from embracing the changes that come with aging. Many elderly individuals feel guilty for wanting space, for not being as active in social situations, or for focusing more on their own well-being rather than that of others. The truth is, letting go of guilt is one of the most liberating things you can do. It allows you to embrace the fact that it's okay to prioritize yourself without feeling like you're abandoning others. When you free yourself from guilt, you give yourself permission to enjoy your life on your terms. This doesn't mean ignoring the needs of others, but it does mean recognizing that your own happiness is just as important. Whether it's spending more time on a hobby, enjoying moments of solitude, or simply saying no to things that drain your energy, letting go of guilt is a necessary step toward reclaiming your peace. Redefining what love looks like in later life. The definition of love changes as we grow older. When we're young, love is often about passion, excitement, and physical connection. But as we age, love becomes more about shared experiences, emotional depth, and companionship. It's about having someone to share the quiet moments with, to laugh with, and to support each other through the ups and downs of life. The love that develops in later years is rich in understanding and mutual respect. In fact, many people find that their relationships become more fulfilling once they accept that love isn't about maintaining the intensity of their youth, but rather about appreciating the depth that comes with experience. Older relationships often have a unique quality. They've survived trials and have withstood the test of time. There's a kind of quiet strength in knowing each other's histories, flaws, and quirks, and still choosing to stay committed. The power of emotional intimacy. One of the most profound aspects of relationships in old age is emotional intimacy. As physical changes occur, emotional intimacy becomes the cornerstone of connection. Conversations that explore not just the surface of daily life, but also the deeper feelings, hopes, and fears, create a bond that can be just as meaningful as any physical connection. Sharing your heart, your vulnerabilities, and your dreams with another person allows you to grow together, even as the years pass. In this stage of life, emotional intimacy is often more important than physical intimacy. Feeling understood, supported, and loved for who you truly are without the need for pretense or performance is one of the greatest gifts that aging can offer in relationships. This deep emotional connection nurtures the soul and gives both partners a sense of belonging and security that no superficial relationship can provide. Finding new ways to connect. While physical changes in old age can sometimes create obstacles to intimacy, they also present opportunities to discover new ways to connect with a partner. Sometimes, intimacy can be found in small gestures, a gentle touch, holding hands, sharing a quiet meal, or simply being present with each other. These seemingly insignificant moments can carry great emotional weight and can build a closeness that is just as powerful as passionate embraces. As you age, it's important to stay curious about your partner, to learn new things about each other, and to continue exploring how you can bring joy to one another's lives. Whether it's through shared activities, travel, or simply talking about the things that matter most, creating new memories and experiences together can deepen your connection and give your relationship a sense of purpose and vitality. The role of forgiveness in lasting relationships. In the later stages of life, forgiveness becomes one of the most critical tools for maintaining healthy relationships. Over the years, we accumulate wounds, resentments, and misunderstandings. However, holding on to grudges or past hurts can create emotional baggage that weighs heavily on relationships. Learning to forgive, whether it's forgiving a partner, family members, or even yourself, is vital for emotional freedom. Forgiveness isn't just about letting go of anger or resentment. It's about releasing the grip that past pain has on your heart. It's about allowing your relationship to be defined by growth and healing rather than past mistakes or disappointments. When you forgive, you make space for love to thrive, unencumbered by the heavy weight of the past. So, what have you learned today? Aging doesn't have to be a downhill journey. In fact, with the right mindset and small, intentional changes, we can live healthier, more fulfilling lives. Whether it's focusing on self-care, building meaningful relationships, or making simple lifestyle changes, it's never too late to start. I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned today that you're going to put into practice in your own life? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment, like, and share it with others who might benefit. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insights and tips on living your best life as you age. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.